Hello, Pal candidates. This is going to be a quick video today, just dealing with what a 7-week timeline looks like for the completion of a task. I'm going to do this for task 1, which you'll be familiar with from the last presentation where I discussed everything that's involved with completing task 1 and the different phases, investigation, preparation, etc. So I'm just going to show you the 7-week timeline that I put together. That will kind of walk you through it. So I did this based on the handbook. It does not have to be done in 7 weeks, but I figured with the amount that has to be collected, processed, time to get folks together, solicit feedback, etc., that 7 weeks is a reasonable amount of time to try to do it. So again, the phases break down. Investigate. I broke investigation down into 2 weeks. You'll see it. First one is to access, collect, and analyze 3 to 5 years worth of quantitative student data, qualitative data on school culture and student learning, and overall school context information. Some of that may be more than you feel like you could do in a week, but it could be spread out into week 2. And then in week 2, based on that information, you could actually begin to sift through the data, identify a priority academic area where improved student performance is desired. You could collect additional quantitative and qualitative information, and those things would clarify factors contributing to the performance problem, and this could include stuff like findings from observations and staff and student interviews. Again, it does seem like a lot. You don't have to stick to a 7-week timeline. You can spread this out, and you could really think of week 1 as starting after you've asked yourself and your supervisor some questions and found where that data can be collected. And then during week 1 and 2, it's just a matter of collecting it and starting to ask those questions. Week 3, preparation. You can take time to document existing school programs, services, and practices relevant to the student group's performance and begin to identify the gaps in effectiveness and opportunities. You can solicit more input from school leaders, teachers, and other relevant stakeholders, and do some of that additional data gathering or data solicitation work. And I made a note here, all of this goes to support writing Artifact 1 priority area in its context. So remember in the first presentation that I gave you, breaking down the handbook task 1 steps, I did indicate that a lot of what you're going to be doing in these phases is going to be already building the documentation that you need for submission. So it's not like you do all this work and then you document it. The documentation is created as you do it, which is why it's helpful to have those checklists to kind of tick off as you create this stuff. Week 4, you transition from the preparation to acting, and that's actually week 4 and 5. Week 4, acting, this is when you're going to develop a vision and a set of action strategies and a proposed detailed plan to improve the student group's learning. And this would be based, of course, on the data and input you collected and have analyzed. Week 5, you're going to solicit some more feedback about the need for addressing the student group's performance. And you're going to see what people have to say about it. What's the relevance and the feasibility of what you're proposing? Again, highlighting here, all of this goes to support artifact number 2, the plan for action strategies. So week 4 and 5, you're acting, you're coming up with your own plan. And then week 6, you're assessing it. Okay, you're evaluating the feedback and you're making appropriate revisions to the plan to reflect that feedback. You're going to summarize and constructively critique the leadership skills and practices that you used or developed in completing this task. So this is where you're going to be doing that self-reflection piece that I had indicated in the detailed introduction to the task, first task and all that's involved in doing it. So what you're going to be doing in week 6 is going to go to support writing your artifact number 3, findings, feedback, and recommendations, as well as the written summary, the written commentary rather, that you need to put together. And then week 7, it's a final week to write or edit the materials you've created, all according to the rules for submission, et cetera, word count, type of file, et cetera, and to confirm that all of your supporting documentation is complete and in order. So you're going to have a week to do this, prior to the date of your submission. And I would encourage you to try to submit your materials completed, ready to go, the day before the deadline, so that if you're hitting snags or problems, you can troubleshoot it at that point. So that's just an introduction to what a 7-week timeline looks like for the completion of a task, in this case, task 1. If you want, I can be preparing timelines that are longer, timelines that are shorter, and do them for task 2, task 3, task 4, whatever we want to put together. All right, hope that was helpful. I'm going to go into a detailed look at task 2 in the handbook and break that down for you, but I wanted you to have that 7-week timeline.